welcome to Andertons TV, and this is all about the bass. I'm Nathan.
And I'm the captain. And today we're looking at the latest range of amplifiers from Ashdown, which is their newly redesigned for 2016 Rootmaster series, or Mag series. It used to be Mag, now it's Rootmaster.
Okay.
But it's basically that kind of mid-price.
All aboard.
Yes, all aboard. Now, we're going to put this rig together for you in a minute, but we thought before we did that, we'd just show you kind of how small and compact everything is.
Gee,
Have an amplifier. That's a 500 watt bass amplifier.
Yeah.
In a little 4 kilo package. There's an 800 watt version of that as well, which I think is a similar sort of size. But it's been an interesting one, the bass market, for the last 5 years, maybe a bit longer, because the guys at Ashdown have really been, what's the right word? They've been sort of fighting that a sort of a battle, that sort of traditional battle, that to make a really good bass amplifier, you've basically just got to make it big and heavy. And they've been sort of flying that flag for a while, whilst brands like Mark Bass and TC and Aguilar and all this kind of stuff have just gone, well, you might believe that, but we're just going to make a big loud, or a loud bassy bass amp in something much smaller and much lighter. And I kind of think, finally, really, sort of the Rootmaster series is Ashdown kind of conceding that that is kind of what people want, and if they don't offer that, that they're going to lose market share.
Yeah.
So this whole new Rootmaster range is all about basically smaller, lighter, but still with the sort of performance levels that people have come to expect from Ashdown. So lots of money has gone into sort of designing, redesigning these amplifiers and finding the right components to deliver a kind of a no compromise kind of Ashdown sound, but in a smaller and lighter format. So
let's put this thing together.
Let's put it together, because we've got some very, very small and pretty lightweight cabs here.
They are.
Visually, it's all quite different now. So we've got the white drivers. They did some limited edition white drivers last year that were very popular. So now the whole range is white drivers.
Oh, okay.
The cabs are smaller. We'll go into the details.
Obviously
soon.
very light, with the ease that you just picked it up.
Pretty light. So there's no 410 in the Rootmaster range anymore. There's a 115, a 210, a 112, and a 610. So I guess if somebody wants the sort of the epic kind of single cab. So we've gone with what I think is going to be the most popular rig, which is the guy that's going to put the 115 on the floor, the 2x10 on top of it, and the Rootmaster head on top again. We've got the 500 watt version, not the 800 watt version, but I'll put links to all that below, so if you want to see the spec of that. But yes, let's build this rig. So here we are, back in the room with our stack ready to go, mic'd, DI'd, all sorts. So you're hearing the full gamut here, and we've got 2 bass guitars to try it with. We have a sort of a 70s reissue jazz bass with vintage strings on it, and we have a modern Ibanez bass with relatively new strings on it. So you'll get you get a full sound. So look. Rootmaster, a lot of the features are sort of filtered down from its big brother, the ABM series. Got a slightly simpler EQ, so just a 5-band EQ. But we've still retained things like the compression, the subharmonic, the drive, and the pre-shape sort of controls, if you like, from its bigger brother, and we'll come on to that in a minute. So to start with, I guess let's just fiddle around with the basic sound. We'll get the sound of it sort of flat with this guitar, and then I'll fiddle with the EQ, and you can kind of see how powerful the EQ is. So take it away, please.
Do something,
Mr. K.
We do something.
Play something Jacko-ish. I don't know.
Jacko-ish?
Well, you've got a jazz bass and it's old, so I just
all
thought
right.
Jacko.
With both pickups on though,
Yes,
so I won't be very
okay.
Jacko-ish.
So pretty powerful EQ, got kind of pretty much all your sort of spectrum of frequencies covered there. What I do like on all these Ashdown amplifiers is this idea of the pre-shape, which is kind of like, you know, what's the designer's kind of classic tone. So if we, again, just play a little bit and then I'll switch it in and you'll hear it go from a relatively flat tone to an EQ'd tone. Easy peasy, anybody could do that, and I've always liked that. That's kind of that classic tone. You may not like it, it's switchable, you know, you can do your own thing. The EQ works in conjunction with that as well, so if you want to use the shape and tweak it, you completely can. Let's move on to the compressor. So we'll turn the compressor on, but leave it at all turned off on the dial, and then I'll just introduce it in. This is the first, I think. Oh no, there's a few of these features that are foot switchable, aren't there?
There's two on this one. You can switch in the drive and the sub. So obviously we've yet to come. We'll deal with that in a minute.
Fine. So let's stick with the compressor, and you're gonna do some picked stuff, are you?
I might
or are
do,
you
if
just
I can find
scratching
one.
your balls?
Hey, my mum watches this. Hello, Mum. By the way, you're right. Good.
Hello, Mrs. K. We're looking after him. I promise he's eating properly at lunchtime.
Yeah. Right then, shall we do this?
Yeah, do it. It's quite a subtle effect, that compressor. I think I've heard sort of pedal compressors have more effect, but what it seems to be doing is just takes a tiny little bit of that flabbiness away from the bottom end and just kind of tightens it up.
I wish it took some flabbiness away from me, quite frankly. I'm glad I'm just holding the bass, because otherwise I couldn't watch this.
Let's go on to the drive. Drive and sub, I think, are probably my two favourite things on all Ashdown amplifiers. So, you know, this is definitely, whereas we've talked about other brands of bass amp appealing to the guy that wants to keep it all sort of clean for his sort of soul, jazz, progressive sort of funk stuff, I think the Ashdown stuff can take you into more of that classic sort of SVT grunty kind of tone in a way that actually, you know, not many brands really go for. So here we go. Let's do the same with the drive control, and you could probably play a very similar style riff to the one that you were
do you know
just
what I'm
sort
going
of
to play?
doing.
I'm going to play something. It's a track called "Shut Up and Dance," which is modern. I see. I do know modern tunes. I can't remember who did it though.
Just shut up and play. Go on. Or dance. Tons of grunt there.
It's got a lot of gain.
Yeah, it has got a lot of gain. I don't know if that's more than the old series had or similar, but it feels more, and I like it.
It's different, and I'll tell you why. Because this is not actually a tube in this one. I think it's it's more like
just a solid state transistor sort of distortion.
Yeah,
it's got more gain, I think, than the drive circuit in the ABM.
I would agree.
Which I like. So now, Subharmonic, where we're going to have the most fun and where you will blow your iPhone up if you're watching this on the iPhone. So Subharmonic is going to introduce another, I think, 2 octaves down from the dry signal.
Is it? I think it's just one.
One?
I believe it's one.
It's low. It's very low. And quite subtle sounding as well, until you get this turned up quite a bit. So, play something that covers everything from your sort of open E and up to the higher ends, because sometimes the subharmonic's easier to hear on the higher strings. But
yeah, okay.
I'm just going to dial it in. So I'll dial it in 50%, and then I'll sort of turn it up a bit as we go from there.
Okay, let's try this then.
And then all the foundations in the building start rattling. Let's get a mix of all that sort of stuff. So we'll have a little bit of compression, a little bit of drive, and a little bit of the subharmonic thing. Just see where we go. Holy mother, that's moving some serious air. Do you know, we had complaints actually in the last All About the Bass video that all the cameras vibrate when we turn the bass amps up too much, and so people were watching. Apparently so. Apparently so. It's certainly moving some air. What haven't I shown you yet? There's some kind of handy features as well for all you guys kind of doing, you know, the pubs and clubs sort of circuit. There's the mute button, which I always like, and actually a little light comes on to tell you you're muted.
That's right, yes.
Yeah,
That's
so
a handy feature.
I know, kind of, you know, when you're taking your interval break and you don't want to adjust any settings or whatever like that, little mute button, very cool.
Has it still got a tuner out on it? Does it still do that?
Shall we have a look?
Have a look, what's on the back?
What's on the back? There's no tuner out,
okay,
but there is a line in, so I'm guessing, you know, if you want to play a drum machine or something through this, you can.
Backing track, I think.
Backing track,
maybe.
Yeah,
if you want to jam along with something at home.
Absolutely. Effects send and return. So if you've got some effects that are more appropriate, sort of after the preamp, but before the power amplifier, you know, maybe delays, things like that. And I had one other thing which I've forgotten since I looked 3 seconds ago. That's the old dementia bass kicking in again. The foot switch is the other socket on the back. It has 2 speaker outputs that are dual purpose speak-on sockets. So you can use speak-ons, which are the ones that sort of twist and clip in, or you can use ye olde fashioned jacks.
And we know about that very well because we just connected it up and we only have 1 speak-on lead.
Yes.
And 1 jack lead. And you can actually mix and match.
You
How
can
cool
mix
is
and
that?
match. I should add as well that there is a little high frequency driver in all the cabs, and a 3-way switch on the back of each, so you can elect to have the high frequency driver off, on a bit, or completely on. So look, the only other input, it's just, this is so seamless. The only other thing we haven't talked about, of course, is the other input for an active bass.
Oh!
So there we are, just to remind us that we did bring one. So here we are, this is an Ibanez SR 500 5-string with the Bartolini pickups.
That's light, man.
Which we like. I don't think we've used this one before, but we've used lots of other Ibanez SR series basses. So I would pop this in the active input, and then what it'll do, it'll just compensate for the fact that these are slightly hotter pickups basically. So here we go. So we've got the active bass here and everything flat again. I think what we'll probably do is actually there's a couple more things to tell you about this range before, because I think what we'll do is we'll just play out on the active bass with maybe me doing some fiddling or whatever like that, and it'll just fade into some sort of bass-tastic heaven. So before we say goodbye, let's cover the rest of the range. So if heads and cabs aren't your thing, and I don't know why they wouldn't be, because I think, you know, heads and cabs make most sense in terms of they're a little bit more portable because they break the rig down into smaller components. I always think they sound better because you've got dedicated cabs to just be cabs. Rather
Is it a cost issue? Is it cheaper to get a combo?
It's absolutely cheaper to get a combo. But so if you like, if money is tight, there is a 115 combo, a 210 combo, and a 112 combo, and they're all around about the sort of £500-ish mark. I'll put a link in the description below so you can go and look. Might be a smidgen north of £500, but it's that sort of ballpark.
He'll knock a bit off for you. He's all right. He's good.
Don't say that. Or, as I said, heads-wise, there's two heads, a 500 and an 800, and there are 4 cabs. These two, the 210, the 115, there's a 610, which replaces the old 410.
It's kind of, it's cute size, that's what I'm thinking.
I like it.
It's kind of dinky.
But dinky without looking like you haven't turned up prepared, if that makes sort of sense.
And plenty of volume.
Oh, lunatic amounts of volume.
Or the look on your face.
I'm always... It's a good point, that one is, because we always take wattage as the indication of, like, you know, one would assume that 1,000 watts is louder than 500 watts and blah blah blah, but so much more goes into it than that. You know, it's like the quality of the power amp. You know, the crappy power amps that say they're 1,000 watts, but as soon as you turn the bass up, can't deliver anything, versus a really great power amp. The speakers, how efficient they are, how many speakers you use, how well ported the cabinets are, all these kind of things. So it's really rather difficult to sort of go, oh, therefore Ashdown versus another brand, you know, this is 500 watts and the other brand may be louder, quieter, whatever. All I can really say is, I think what Ashdown have always done is on the side of caution with their volume ratings. I don't think you ever buy an Ashdown amplifier and go, oh, I thought that would be louder. I think, you know, that's one of the good things about Ashdown is
it's got bags of volume, and I think it sounds great.
Yeah,
just fiddling around with it.
And there's lots of sounds. Again, I think when we've looked at other bass amps, they tend to sort of go, here's a sound, and it's got some EQ, but I'm sort of, that's my ballpark that I'm going to stay in. I don't get the feeling with this. I kind of get the feeling that I could happily dial in some soul jazzy kind of sounds, or I could dial in some rock sounds. You know, it's
well, I think also it's got that distinctive Ashdown sound to it too.
Yeah.
You know, so if anybody's worried, you know, they think, well, I want a smaller rig, but I don't want to lose the Ashdown sound. Well, this has still got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna just say my one negative. I always like to be balanced in these kind of reviews, and I was saying this to Nathan earlier on. The chrome panel on here looks mint, so there's nothing to dislike about that, except that you kind of, in certain lights, you can't read what the controls are done, because if you just get the shadow on it wrong, you can't read the black writing. So you know, here I can see it absolutely perfectly, it's brilliant, and then up here I'm going, I can't actually see what they say. So that's my only criticism.
Well, to counter that, I think that, you know, when you're familiar, obviously, you know, it's going to be a gig and amp. When you're familiar with it, you kind of know what it all does anyway.
Yes.
You know, I've got the same thing with my amp. I just know. I don't have to. I just know that does that. And
yeah.
Go. So, you know.
Or you do what Brian May does on his Vox 8030, which is you take all the knobs off and put a metal panel. So the only knob that's exposed is the volume control.
Is that right?
And that's the truth. Yeah. So there's physically.
What's everything else set to then?
Well, however he likes it, but it then just
nobody knows.
Nobody knows, and then it just can't be changed. Anyway, look, let's play out with this active bass. I'll do some tweaking, so we'll give you like a minute or two's worth of playing. But I'll put a link again in the description below, so you can go and find out about all the new Ashdown stuff for 2016. But for now, I've been the Captain,
and I have been Nathan,
and thank you so much for watching All About the Bass.
See you next time.
Good, well remembered. If there is a next time.
Right then, what does this do? Oh yeah.
sounding good to me.